Gosh, I love this. This is all due to the credit to Kurt Keyes, who created this in 2017 out of Crater Lake as a day to night time lapse. I had to start with something interesting, and I chose well. Oh man, just to watch the night transition to day like this. I'm sad that the Milky Way goes away, and then I also see this, and I stop being so sad. It's amazing. This Milky Way that's coming up is the November Milky Way, the last core that we have. What's happening right now, we have the moon up, and then it's in the way of the Milky Way core throughout the night, and then finally it's going to get out of the way again, and we'll start seeing the core by itself, but for mere minutes. Those of us in the northern hemisphere have mere minutes with it. Here is October 24th, go to November 24th, go to December 24th. Milky Way is there. Jurgen gave us a challenge. Capture the other side of the Milky Way, the Orion constellation area. This is the Andromeda Galaxy. And so the left side, the Milky Way, the east side of the Milky Way, the side of the Milky Way we'll see a lot more of in December, will have that Andromeda Galaxy right up at the top of the sky. And when it's at zenith, it's going to be the most clear it can be. So if you're going to capture, say, Orion constellation or Andromeda Galaxy, capturing when they're at zenith is a great time. So back up, let's focus on November. What's happening in November? The core right now is already listing to the right, and this list right here is still a very cool looking Milky Way. Each night at different hours, okay, I can see how it might even be vertical and then tilt. Vertical and tilt. So if I haven't done it ever before, this is my way of getting a nice visual of what that Milky Way will look like and getting an idea, okay, directly south of me, to the west, in the middle, that's where I'll see that Milky Way. Cool. I have this drawing just to emphasize that you're not going to want to fight much terrain. You're going to want to avoid terrain as much as possible. In this area, you have a desert with a flat terrain, or even an ocean with the flat terrain. Any southern western view that you have in your area that you can get to quickly, I'm going to show you guys an area of example with the trestle where I have mountains in my path. Because if I have some mountains, imagine them here, and they're going up and causing a horizon. Well, how much of the core will I actually see? Only this much. And I don't want to only see this much of the core. And that could be the entire time. The Milky Way core could be here and then set itself down here. And I don't want that. I want the Milky Way core to be visible as much as possible. So the most ideal scenario is a completely flat terrain for much more of a distance than you can expect in some areas. You can have a really distant, long, flat area. And the ocean, absolutely the best if you go to the ocean over here. We're going to go to Secret Beach. It's one of our areas, our first area, our first night on the 5th. We'll be doing a sunset out at Secret Beach. And how's the Milky Way that first night? So then down, if you guys aren't familiar with PhotoPills enough, this timeline down below, I'm going to scrub it until I get to the 5th. That's just a nice, quick, and easy way when you can see right here, my date was so close to the 5th already. November 5th, 2018, we're going to enjoy the sunset. The sunset's going to be at, it shows right here, an event, moonset is what it went to. It's still golden hour. The sun is still up from being the sunset line, and the moon has actually set on us at 4:32 local time. Tap it again, goes to sunset. That is at 5:06 p.m. I have the twilight periods beginning and ending, and astronomical twilight ends at 6:41. So astro ends at 6:41 p.m. on November 5th. Now here's a fun challenge. Okay, well, that is a sliver of time that I can see the core. In the planner, over on the right and left, if you're in an iPad, or it's on the top if you're on your iPhone, you will see these pictures. This right here is visibility of galactic core. It tells me right away that is only visible from 6:41 p.m. until 7:05 p.m. Visible above the horizon for at least, what is that? It's like 24 minutes. That's it. 24 minutes of time. So then let's figure out other nights and where the moon's going to be. How do I take this location that I have on the planner and move it into my moon pill so that it knows where I want to adjust the moon from? Well, I can take this coordinate. Let's take save. Actually, no, it's an action. Over here on the bottom right, there's an action button. I click on that, and I go over to copy location, and that copied coordinates for me. So I'm going back out, going to the moon pill, and then up here in the settings where it's automatically updating to where I am locally, I am going to paste right here my coordinates. Brookings, Oregon. Sweet. Boom. Now it's giving me the moon based on this area. Where's the core? Where's the subjects that are going to be the objects of my obstruction going to be in my way? How do I figure that out? How can I use maybe PhotoPills to find out what's in my path? Now, I was at the trestle. That trestle is an abandoned railroad that only has track from here till somewhere over here to the road ends, like asphalt goes over it. So this is not an active train track. I would never recommend you go to an active train track. But standing here, I can get the train track in front of me, light paint it, and have a vertical Milky Way over the end of it. Sometimes I can even stand up here and get an interesting leading line into it. And so this is an option that I like right here. Look in this direction. And so I can see where the Milky Way is going to be in the sliver. So that's working out pretty well. But what are my obstacles? What kind of issues am I going to be faced with? If you know your area and you know the hills that you should check, then just go immediately and go to them and mark them up with the Pin-to-Pin Geodetic Info. This guy. This button is not active. Let me hit the graphic. This square, it turned it on. It brought me a black pin. Here's the red pin of where I'm standing, and here's a black pin. So looking at the satellite, I can tell that these are some high hills right here. And then going back, I can scrub through this timeline. I'm going to hold my finger down, and that extended the timeline to a larger window, so it takes a lot more effort to scrub through too many minutes. Well, you can see what's happening here. Do you see that dotted line? What is that telling me? That's telling me some information. What's my horizon like? You have a pin, which is your red pin. This is where you are. You're given a black pin that you're going to place somewhere. Let's draw the horizon that you're on and say you have a hill that goes like this. And you have a subject that's back here, and you want to know, is the subject up here above this hill? Or is the subject down here below and blocked by this hill? Well, I put this pin right here on the highest point of the hill. It draws this dotted line between me and says, okay, your view between here and here, if it's visible, this line will be solid. If it's not, and this thing is way down here, your line will be dotted. So let's go back to PhotoPills. You can see the dotted line that I'm getting. Imagine if I move this pin right here to something low. Will this Milky Way be higher than that? It says yes. Oh, nope. When I get that close, it starts being blocked too. The terrain up there, you can see right here, it has a difference of 86 meters from where I am in this little trestle area to there, has an 86 meter incline, and even that will block my subject. How does PhotoPills know my subject and know the height of my subject? It's talking about the Milky Way core, and what information does the core have? Over here on the right, you're going to see not the visibility to galactic core one, but the galactic center. It's giving us an elevation degree, 3.7 degrees. And this pin is on a high point right here and says that it's currently at 6.3 degrees. So even if I didn't see the dotted line, I could put that pin down and go, oh, crud. That at this time is 6.3 degrees between me and here. What do they call it? They call it a visual altitude, like your apparent altitude difference of altitude. So that line that I've been drawing between these two pins is saying, here's your apparent angle of vision. I got the wrong term. I can't think of it right now. But basically, my vision right here can only see what's above this, and everything below it would be something blocked. If it's the sun, if it's let's do the moon with a gray line, and if it's the Milky Way with green circles. If those things, or I would say I shouldn't even do multiple circles for Milky Way, because all it has is one point. It has one point that it's declared. Right here, this elevation, 3.7 degrees, is the galactic center. What's the actual galactic center? They've chosen a star closest to the black hole in the center of the galaxy, Sagittarius A, as the galactic center point. And that, whether that star is above the horizon or not, or where that star is in the sky, it gives us a degree. So that degree is saying 6, okay, that degree is 3 something. Now I need to do a smaller thing. It is 3, but this height is 6. And so anytime this thing is between 3 degrees and 6, or I say 0 and 6, it's going to draw a dotted line. And anytime it gets above that, it's a solid line. I think I've really beat that horse to death. You guys understand that when you use the pin-to-pin geodetic info, you can find out whether you're going to be in a lower area and the horizon around you, or certain objects that are obviously tall that you put the pin on. They can tell you, okay, this is this height and this is what you're wanting to be. And you can see how throughout the whole night, it's not any higher than, ooh, look, 6.3. So if you could see it right here at the beginning of its time, but then it's going to get to the point where it hits 6.3 and below. So you have a moment of full darkness and a core that's above, or at least that star. Let me draw you another diagram. So I want to emphasize, when you're out there, this isn't a promise that you're going to see everything. Let's do this graphic. So night sky, the graphic. Let's do it with the full circles that draw for me. Here's the core. Well, it's designated this star right here as the core. So as this thing tilts down below the horizon, and it gets, say, it says it's visible, 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 and then finally below here it's not visible. What you're seeing is actually a circle that is now cut in half, a circle that is, well, I would say just cut in half because it's towards the center of that circle. So here it is above the horizon, but look how much of your core is actually on the horizon. So some of the information that you have right here in PhotoPills is telling you that the core is above the horizon, but it's not promising that an entire core is above the horizon. The entire cool shape that you call the core, it's not saying that it's above the horizon. It's saying that Sagittarius inside here is still above the horizon. And as that thing goes down until this dot actually goes on this side of the horizon, it's still above the horizon. And so even that 6.3 height right there is misleading, because what you're probably going to find out is that it's this egg of core resting on the hill, and most of it down here is blocked by some structure, not structure, it's not man-made structure, it's only topographical and geology. Anything that is landmass, hill, mountain, anything that a topographical map would show will show up on here. And so when that thing is there, it's going to be covering a lot of your Milky Way core. So what you have to do now is plan your area based on what flat terrain you can find. I'm really lucky, and I can go somewhere close called the Bonneville Salt Flats. I go to the Bonneville Salt Flats, I put my pin down, I just hold my finger until it gets there. Then I grab my pin-to-pin geodetic info. I had to undo it and bring it back up to bring that pin over to me. And anywhere I put it, look at the readout. Difference, 0.0, 0.0, 0.0. Well, along my Milky Way core, 0.0. Okay, what about way over here? That is a 12-meter difference, but that's not going to affect my Milky Way. Look at that. There's no dotted line the entire time. That's awesome. Then if I go onto this hill, though, am I going to have something high enough? Not yet. What about all the way out here at Go Shoot Peak? Let's try that. Wait, I got to grab it. That's right. I got to drag the black pin. You can't just hold your finger down for that. Okay, that's 1.8 degrees. So eventually, that Sagittarius A star will dip below the height of this peak of this mountain range. And peaks are nice because you know that they're the tallest point. So if you put the pin near the peak, you know that the rest of the hill, whatever shape it is most likely going to be out of most of the Milky Way core's way. If you have something that only gives you maybe 5 minutes of view before it sets, don't use that spot. I mean, you can change where you are quickly with the just mere benefit of parallaxing. I go 20 yards this way, that distant hill is now over here, and I moved it miles out of my way by just going a few meters my direction. And so you got to handle that and work with it. So we've covered what days are going to be good when the moon, basically based on when the moon's out of the way. And then where should you go? Make sure you go to a flat, cool, flat area. If you got the ocean and you're on the West Coast, brilliant. Wow, that's going to be so much easier to work with, like the salt flats or an ocean, than anything else. Then if you have things that are in your way that are not man-made, you can find out how high the Milky Way core is going to be through the night. And even if it is man-made, you can get an idea to find out, okay, every fist is 10 degrees, and so you can go out there and see, you know what, that's actually going to block. That's going to block what I want. Now, it's going to block Sagittarius A, but it might not block the whole Milky Way core. And so the whole thing that you call the core is going to be visible as this giant mass around Sagittarius A. Let me bring up Stellarium and teach you guys the southern hemisphere while we're at it. It's almost their summer. They're in spring right now. I was talking to Sergio earlier, and spring is happening, and the sun is setting. Okay. Whoa. So here's where the Milky Way core already is, completely to the west. The sun has set, and as it sets, it reveals the Milky Way. So let's go forward in time just a little bit at pace. Oh, yeah. Look at that core. I've never personally seen the southern hemisphere sky, and I've never seen the Milky Way in that angle, nor have I ever seen this much of the Milky Way on this side. That is incredible. All this side of the Milky Way, I don't know it. I have no familiarity with it. I can't wait to see it someday. So let's hit play. So it goes to the times a little bit slower. So now it's transitioning. Yeah, you have from like 750 until that Sagittarius A sets, but on that horizon, that low, that can be really, really tight. That can be really tight. So that Milky Way core is going to set almost like it's a hat, and the hat is going down below the horizon. So this is an amazing view, much better, I'd say, than our view, but not as many as a few hours, just at least 2 great hours, which way better than 18 minutes. You southern hemisphere people are so dang lucky. And not to mention that once that Milky Way goes down, you still have the large and small Magellanic Cloud to look at. Oh, man. That's crazy. I'm so jealous. So jealous. Let's turn off atmosphere so you can see them even better. Look at those. I mean, you're not seeing them great, but the Magellanic Clouds I've never seen. Can't wait to see them someday. If you want to learn more about pin-to-pin geodetic info, I say what I said just barely in a video on our YouTube channel. Here it is, the pin-to-pin geodetic info. I explained it. Here is 11 minutes explanation of it. And I think it's on mute. Let's keep it on mute. Hey, Aaron. Blah, 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 blah. And I go through all those drawings that I did for you guys today with maybe even a little bit more explanation about how you handle it, yada, yada, yada. One of the most underrated channels on YouTube, Jack Chow, I love you. Thank you. I wish more people agree with you. That's awesome. So other than patting myself on the back, here's the list. No moon, number 1. 2, flat as possible. Use pin-to-pin geodetic info to make sure that it is, and know what your obstacles you're dealing with and whether you want to move over here or move over here, because that can change so fast on what you need. Awesome. Thanks for hanging out with me in this hour. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to go and tell your friends about this video, share it, or anything you can to help Milky Way Wednesdays, let people know about it. Thanks for joining me. So see you guys. If you enjoyed this channel, if you're a Milky Way photographer out there, click subscribe and like. And if you want to capture all these live streams that we do every Wednesday, it's Milky Way Wednesday, 7 p.m. I'm live right here in the studio talking Milky Way. If you want to capture that and join me live, make sure you hit the bell button so that you can be notified and be there and not miss anything from Photog Adventures. Pack the things in the car and I'm ready to go, and I look up and the blasted sky has clouds. Right now it's 1:08 a.m. so do I rush out? I am way too tired to continue scouting.